Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We're back for another stream, and this is the transfer tips video uh, for Game Week 8. Sorry about that bit of technical difficulties. But yeah, back is the transfer tips video for Game Week 8. We hope you're all doing well. And yeah, if you are just joining the stream, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also make sure you share the video as you can if you're on your socials. But yeah, how you doing, Jordan? Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good. Obviously, game week 7 is still underway. I think Luton and Burnley play tonight, so yeah, that might be a watch for some of you guys. But this video is the transfer tips video for game week 8, and yeah, we'll be discussing. I think it's a big game week because obviously there's a lot of wild cards on the table, and this definitely transfer tip video will definitely help, obviously, with your plans going forward.
Yep, definitely. So let's actually, let's start off with the video with the first buy. And this one might be obvious. He's in a lot of teams. He's in 24% of teams already. And that is Son. Now, Son is currently 7 appearances, 6 goals. So he's had a very, very good start to the season, especially in the last couple of games. We know he's come off the back of that goal as well against Liverpool. And yeah, his underlying numbers have been pretty good since he's going into that number 9 position, playing as a forward for Spurs now. And you take a look at the fixtures again, that's what really stands out. Luton away, that is potentially captain worthy fixture for Son. When you take into consideration Haaland is going to be playing Arsenal, there's going to be a lot of people that do potentially are tempted by going Son captain. You just want to, think about it. In Game Week 9 as well, it's Fulham, then it's Palace, Chelsea, and Wolves. So the next 5 look good. The Spurs are on a bit of form. They are unbeaten so far this season. And yeah, expected goals per 90 as well, 0.47. I know a lot of people have Maddison in their team. So if you can get to Son for the double up of Spurs attack, it's something that I would be looking to do. Obviously, I am currently on a wild card for those that haven't seen yesterday's video. And I do have Son in the wildcard draft right now, and I'm sure you do as well. What do you think about Son if you don't own him, about bringing him in this week? Because the next 2, particularly Luton and Fulham, look nice.
Well, I think this is obviously the fixture to bring Son in, because it is Luton, obviously, and it's a newly promoted team. And at the moment, newly promoted teams are conceding a lot of goals. And literally, Spurs have already scored massively, like in that Burnley game, 5 goals against Burnley, and obviously 2 against Sheffield United. So this is a great fixture to bring Son in. I don't think you should be waiting to bring Son in. I think this is the perfect fixture where you can literally bring him in early, now that the fixtures have changed, because Son previously was a nil for the 2 game weeks before, where he had Liverpool and Arsenal, but now his fixtures become much more easy and look very obviously appealing for Son, who has shown he can score massively in these easy fixtures. So Luton away, perfect one to bring him in. I don't think he's going to be a popular person to bring in, I think, alongside Maddison as the double up on Spurs in that midfield. And I don't see why not. Doubling Spurs in the midfield isn't such a bad idea, just because of the fixtures they have. And with the absence of obviously Harry Kane leaving the club, that basically means Son is the main man to obviously get the goals for Spurs now. And yeah, great run of fixtures. You can literally hold on to Son for quite a while when you buy him in your team. So I think, yeah, as soon as possible, bring Son in, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I agree. He's going to be popular on the Game Week 8 wild card. And even if you're not on a wild card, I think bringing him in makes sense. Let's move on then to the next player on the list as a buy. And that is Kieran Trippier. Now, again, Kieran Trippier has actually performed pretty well in the last couple game weeks, coming off the back of I think 12-pointer in his last game. I believe before that it was an 18-pointer. So he's now racking up the points with the 4 assists in the 7 games. We know Newcastle had a very tough start to the season. They did lose a couple of games, and we did always say Newcastle start is very hard. So in our game week 1 drafts, we didn't really go with Trippier, who was so popular last season. But now comes a time where you look at it, if you are on a game week 8 wild card, or even if you're not on a wild card, I think bringing him in could make sense, especially for that game week 9 fixture and in game week 10 Wolves as well. Um, and we've seen what Trippier can do. Once he gets an assist, he's likely to get 3 bonus points as well, especially if that comes on top of a clean sheet. Now, West Ham in game week 8 isn't. Maybe we don't see a clean sheet for Newcastle. I don't know what you reckon, Jordan, because obviously that's the tough.
Yeah, it is a tougher fixture. Obviously, West Ham have seen improvement, a lot of improvement, especially with James Ward-Prowse, the new addition to West Ham. It seems like it has made the midfield quite formidable. And we've also seen, obviously, form from Bowen this season compared to last. And yeah, it is going to be a difficult game, especially away at West Ham as well. It's not going to be easy for Spurs. Sorry, not Spurs. It's not easy for Newcastle away, as their record is better at home. So I don't see a clean sheet in this one, but I think it's similar to when we spoke about Estupiñán, when we didn't see a clean sheet for him in some games. He would sometimes deliver an attack and return, and Trippier pretty much equals or even betters Estupiñán on that sort of level in terms of an attacking, obviously, threat in defence. So I think Trippier, regardless if he gets a clean sheet or not, he still has the potential to get an attack and return, either from set piece or from obviously crosses and overplay.
Yeah, I was just going to say onto that Trippier chat, because game week 9 does look good. Get Palace at home, Wolves as well away is a nice fixture in game week 10. And if you do want Trippier long term, then I think it's probably now the time to bring him in. Ideally, I think the last 2 weeks, obviously, is with hindsight, but he had the nice fixtures in game week 6 and game week 7. Obviously, he went and got the mega hauls, but he still got good fixtures coming up. And in the next 5, you can see attacking returns for Trippier with the 4 assists that he's already got.
Yeah, because I kind of wish I brought Trippier in sooner and got his 30 points in the last 2 game weeks total together, because he literally killed ranks, and that's another reason why Trippier is a buy, because of his rise in ownership, now at 42%. So almost half of FPL owners now own Trippier, which is pretty crazy considering he was about 30% from game week 5, and now it's literally spiking high now. So yeah, Trippier definitely is one of those players that we all fear when we see his ownership rise, as well as him getting bonus points, clean sheets, and attacking returns like he has done.
Okay, that's the buys out the way then. Let's bring up some players that we recommend that you should be looking to sell. Now, these are players that I think you should be looking to get rid of now, because again, Chilwell for me is a no-brainer. We're not going to spend too long on Chilwell. He has been confirmed to be out now for a while. I don't know an exact time frame, but it looks like he's going to be out for a considerable amount of time, which doesn't really come as a surprise. Once we know Chilwell's injury record in the past few seasons hasn't been great. It's a bit unfortunate, I guess. But look, 4 appearances, no goals, 1 assist. I was one of those managers that went with Chilwell in my Game Week 1 team, and it's just one of those things that hasn't paid off at all. Again, he's injured, so he's going to miss the next few games. Fixtures aren't great either, especially after Game Week 9. You don't want him in your team, and yeah, he's an easy sell, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is an ugly habit of where we've seen Chilwell sustain an injury now. I think this is 3 seasons now where Chilwell literally starts off well and then suddenly he gets injured and he's pretty much out for most of the season. So I think, yeah, it's unfortunate, obviously, but Chelsea in general haven't really got going ever since that Luton win. So yeah, I think, easy, to sell Chilwell, as he doesn't have a return date. It's unknown still, so we don't know how long he's out for, and I don't think we should even go for him.
Yeah, the fixtures are bad anyway after 9.
Yeah, the fixtures are bad after game week 9, and yeah, there's no real point having a defender from Chelsea.
All right, so the next sell, who we're looking at, Bukayo Saka.
Yeah.
Now, this one could be interesting because some people might look at it and think, there's no need to sell Salah. there's no need to sell Saka because he has 7 appearances, 4 goals, and 3 assists. There are already some managers that sold him in game week 7, and obviously he started that game and scored the penalty. Was it a penalty? No, he didn't score the penalty, did he? He scored and then he gave away the penalty to Odegaard. And he already punished sellers straight away. But the reason why I've put him on this list is because he's got Man City next, and then he's got Chelsea. And Man City, we know, is a tough game for Arsenal. We can easily see Man City win that game, even though it is at the Emirates. Chelsea did win yesterday, 2-0. I don't want to say they're back or anything like that, but historically, it's not been a massively high-scoring game. So, if you do, let's say you prefer Son or Maddison in the next 2, which I definitely prefer. I'd rather have Maddison or Son, who's got Luton and Fulham, I believe, over a Saka who's got City and Chelsea. So you've got to kind of make that decision up yourself. But for me, if I'm wildcarding or even if I'm looking to bring players in right now, it's the Tottenham midfielders that I'd want in my team. And because of the way the budget is, selling Saka probably is the easiest way to afford a Son or a Maddison. So that's the reason why I put Saka on this list. But what do you make of the next maybe 2 fixtures? Because we're looking at, some people are looking at wildcarding game week 8, and some people are looking at game week 10 as well. So you rather Son or Maddison, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, I think in terms of game week 8 and 9, around that obviously margin of the season, Saka is really a sell. But if you're wild card in, let's say, in game week 10, then he's potentially not a sell. It all depends. Obviously, it's variable on teams, on obviously in what your plans are. But in terms of right now, I think Saka is a sell just because of the hard fixtures, especially game week 8, that Man City home game. I don't expect it to be high scoring, if I'm honest. And if I do, there's probably one or it could be multiple goal scorers if it is a high scoring game, which come from Arsenal as well. So it's very hard to tell who's going to score, obviously, for Arsenal. And the worry is, does Saka still obviously hand over these penalties? Because he handed over one to Kai Havertz, he handed over one to Odegaard, so he could potentially have a hat-trick in his last game week. So that also is a worry. Obviously, the penalty taker, does Saka still take these penalties for Arsenal, or is he going to keep handing one out here and there? That's also something we have to consider as well, because that is why we brought in Saka as one of the obviously important points of owning him, because he's a penalty taker. But I think for now, I think even in my team, he's definitely out of my team. I've sold him and replaced him obviously with Spurs assets. So yeah, you do have to make a choice whether you want Spurs or keep the Arsenal ones. But I think for now, Saka is a sell.
Yeah, also, the other thing to add on Saka, we've said about Man City, Chelsea fixtures, even the Newcastle fixture in game week 11 being tougher fixtures. But looking at his fixtures from game week 12 onwards, I'd probably want him back in my team. So you might still want to keep a route for Saka. I think it's a sell for now, but not forever kind of thing. You'd probably want him back in the coming game weeks because we know what he can do. So in game week 12, he's got Burnley, game week 13, Brentford, game week 14, Wolves, game week 15, Luton, game week 16, Villa, game week 17, I believe it's Brighton. So I think around the 12 mark, I'll probably be looking to bring him into my own team. But for now, I think if you're especially on a wild card, I don't think I'll be going with him. Let's move on then to the next player on the list. And these are now the holds that we're going to move on to now. These are players that managers are transferring out, and we think, you could be looking to hold now. This one has a caveat around it, Rashford, because we know Rashford is being transferred out heavily. He has been massively underwhelming and disappointing so far this season. 7 appearances, 1 goal and 2 assists, especially for a player at his price. He was 9 million start of the season. He had a couple of price drops. Manchester United are struggling. They did just lose 1-0 at home to Palace, which we thought was an easier game for them. They've got Brentford next, as you see, on game week 8. So the reason why I put Rashford as a hold isn't because I think he's an amazing pick or anything. It's the fact that if you're not wildcarding, he's a hold, I think. So if you're on a wild card like I am, like Jordan, I believe you are as well,
Yes.
there's no way Rashford is probably on the wild card. I don't think there's any point going with Rashford when you've got Son, you got Maddison, you probably got West Ham assets, maybe Aston Villa assets, you know, Palace assets. So the way I look at it is, if you are on a game week 10 wild card, which I know some people are looking at game week 10 as a wild card horizon, then I think you've got to just take that punt for 2 weeks. And we've said this before about Rashford, and you know, play him against Brentford at home and then Sheffield away, because Sheffield away is still a decent fixture for Man United and Rashford. I know they've struggled, but I think it depends on your faith in Rashford. If you don't have faith in Rashford and you don't have faith in Bruno, then you just press the wild card, I think. But if you're not
Yeah,
wild carding, then I think he's a hold, surely, because then you rather just wild card.
yeah, I agree. I mean, at this moment in time, you know, Man United haven't really got going this season and are struggling. But if we look at that Burnley game, yes, it could have been a draw, but somehow Man United did win that game. And obviously the goal scorer was Bruno. So with game week 9, when they have Sheffield United away, which Sheffield United have conceded a lot of goals, like conceded 5 to Spurs, I don't see Man United completely struggling to the point where they can't score in that game. I definitely see goals in that game. So Rashford could be a hold for that purpose of him getting something out of that Sheffield United away game instead of that Brentford one. And also, if you really want to hold on to him over the Man City one, he's got Luton at home in game week 11 and then Everton away in game week 12. And Everton haven't kept a clean sheet this season. So again, there is hope that Man United, as much as they probably will struggle in that game, there still can be goals from that game as well. So it all depends how you look at Rashford and what opportunities he may bring you, obviously, in these next 5, because I think these next 5 fixtures are important, especially for 9, 11 and 12, where Rashford could be a decent hold for those fixtures in particular.
I think it's just for the next 2, to be honest. Because I'm assuming if you're not going to wildcard now, which is game week 8, you're going to wildcard in 10. And then maybe there'll be some people that wildcard in game week 19 as well, because I know there's a bit of a opportunity in game week 19. But yeah, that's what I think. I think if you're set on a wild card and you don't like your team, you know, go for it. But you know, if you are on the off chance that you want to use a transfer, I think I'd rather be bringing in. I'd rather be taking out the likes of Sterling, even a Saka, because I'd rather have Rashford playing Brentford and Sheffield than Saka playing Man City. So that's where I'm kind of coming from. But yeah, let's move on to the next player though. And the next hold on the list. And this is another maybe an interesting pick because you know, Darwin, he's not massively highly owned, but I thought I'd include him anyway because he has been transferred out by quite a few managers. We know Darwin was actually on the bench in Liverpool's loss against Spurs on the weekend. However, Klopp did actually say before the game that Darwin complained of a slight issue, an injury issue, and he wasn't fit to start the game. But we also saw before Liverpool got that second red card for Jota, it looked like Darwin was actually getting ready to come onto the pitch. So we know that he's actually fit to kind of come on. And especially with Gakpo now confirmed to miss the Brighton game, Jota is red carded as well. So that's 2 of Liverpool's 5 attacking players not available for Brighton. So Darwin, by the law of, you know, subtraction, really, he's going to start no matter what because Liverpool don't really have any other options. You know, Salah's fit, Diaz is going to play on the left, and Darwin is the only number 9 really Liverpool have available due to Jota's suspension and Gakpo's injury. So if for that reason, and another thing I want to actually say, you know, they've got Brighton next. Obviously, Brighton have been playing really well so far this season, but I take a look at Brighton's. If I just look at Brighton's season as a whole, I'm just going on here. I think they've had a few losses, haven't they? A few big losses.
And they've had no clean sheets so far this season either. Similar to Everton, surprisingly. Despite Brighton playing really well, they have had no clean sheet.
Yeah, with they've had 2 losses so far this season, Brighton. And both those losses, you know, one came last weekend against Villa in that 6-1 loss. They also lost in game week 3 against West Ham. And one thing West Ham and Aston Villa have in common, I think, is they play with a big physical number 9. You know, Watkins, for Aston Villa, and then Antonio for West Ham. And when you look at Darwin and the type of striker he is, he's a big physical number 9. So I actually think Darwin could have a very, very good game against Brighton, because I feel like Brighton's defense struggles with these type of players, big physical strikers that like to run in behind with the pace, and that will make it difficult for that back line. So I think there could be a potential haul on the way for Darwin against Brighton. It's just a little hunch I have. And I think he's a good definite hold. If I had Darwin, there was no chance I'd be selling a differential with 12.5% ownership when he's got Brighton next. And I've just explained why I think he could do well, because Antonio and Watkins are that physical striker that's done well against Brighton so far this season. But what's your thoughts on Darwin, Jordan? I think you had him in your team as well, I believe, early. Or were you considering him, I think?
I was considering Darwin, but then obviously we weren't sure if it was nails to start due to obviously the amount of attacking players Liverpool has. But just to touch on obviously Darwin after Brighton game, he's got 2 nice home fixtures at Anfield, which are against Everton at home and Nottingham Forest at home. So hopefully for those who do hold on to Darwin, he does feature in both of those fixtures, because I think again those 2 fixtures could be really nice for Darwin, especially at Anfield, where teams do struggle a lot to even score at Anfield, let alone win. So I think again Darwin could be a nice added addition to your team, especially with his ownership being only at 12.5% and slowly dropping down as well. It could be a decent, almost a different differential to go for at a reasonable price of 7.4 million. So I think despite him having 2 appearances and 4 coming off the bench, he's still a decent player. Even coming off the bench, he can score potentially, obviously in matches. So yeah, I like the fixtures for Darwin, and he could. I think he could be a hold if I had him.
Okay, then finally we'll move on to the ignores now, and these are players that we think you could potentially look to, just give another week or so, and before you start bringing him in. Now, obviously, Odegaard is coming off the back of a 17-pointer, I believe, against Bournemouth in that 4-0 win with a 2 assists and 1 goal. And a lot of you are bringing him in. And again, we'll take a look at his fixtures: City, Chelsea, Sheffield, Newcastle in the next 4. I think there's other midfielders that I'd want in my team right now ahead of Odegaard, especially on a wild card. Even if you're not on a wild card, there's likes of Salah, who I'd want. Madison, there's Son, there's Bowen. People are looking at players like that. So for me, there's just not enough midfield slots for Odegaard in that sense. And yeah, if you've got him, you could just hold him out and see how it goes. But for me, I think he's an ignore. I don't think there's any point bringing him in, because his record against City as well isn't as great. So yeah, I don't see many points for him in the next fixture. Definitely Chelsea, you never know, because he's sometimes on penalties. So if he gets a penalty against City, if Saka gives it up to him, then he could return that way. But in that sense, what do you make of the midfield slots though? Like, because obviously we only have 5, and he is quite expensive at 8.5 million as well.
Yeah, they're very precious, those 5. Obviously 5 spots in that midfield, and you want a player that obviously has great form. Don't get me wrong, Odegaard does have the form, but it's just the fixtures that Arsenal have aren't great. And a lot of other players in the midfield, like from obviously West Ham for Bowen, has long-term nice fixtures, and Diaby, another midfielder who has nice long-term fixtures that we want in our teams, and Spurs as well, if we're going double Spurs. So that's just 4 places obviously used up. And I think there's literally no room to include like Odegaard in your team with the fixtures, because I don't expect a lot of points coming obviously from Odegaard in that Man City game. The Chelsea one could be. Obviously Sheffield United at home is a better fixture, but then Newcastle away is a more trickier fixture for Odegaard to obviously get some impact in that game from. So yeah, I think in game week 8 and 9, definitely ignore Odegaard, and for the price as well, 8.5 million. And the fact we can only really fit in 1 Arsenal asset rather than going for double up as well, I think is a bit overkill. And yeah, I think for now, Arsenal players in the midfield can be an ignore.
Okay, and then finally, the last player on the list as an ignore, and that is his teammate Ben White. Now, Ben White, similarly to Odegaard, has had a double-digit haul. looking at how many points he actually accumulated. I think it was 14-pointer for Ben White with that clean sheet, and he did score obviously against Bournemouth. So again, as always, people are rushing to bring these players in who have already got a double-digit haul. And just to let you know, guys, you're not going to get, a double-digit haul again next week just because he's got one this week. That was his first goal of the season, I believe. So you've missed that boat. And you take a look at his fixtures again, similar to Odegaard. It's Man City next. I don't really expect a clean sheet here, if I'm being honest. Chelsea, again, they could get a clean sheet against Chelsea for sure. Sheffield, Newcastle's going to be tough. So yeah, at 5.5 million as well, he's quite expensive, especially when you consider the players like Cash, Udogie, Porro, even Gabriel, who I'd actually rather prefer now that Gabriel's got his starting place back at 4.7 million. I'd rather go cheap on the defense rather than spend 5.5 on a Ben White. And yeah, the fixtures just don't make sense right now. So yeah, he's an easy ignore for me.
Yeah, I think you can't really see many clean sheets in the next 5. I think I see 2, and that's from the 2 home fixtures where they go against Sheffield United and Burnley at home. But besides that, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle, I'm doubtful of clean sheets for Ben White there. And the fact he's only had 1 assist and obviously scored 1 goal, which came from that Bournemouth game, doesn't feel with much confidence of going with a defender like Arsenal for the fixtures, and because of the lack of clean sheets that they probably will not get in the next 5 as well. So I think that's an easy ignore. I think similar to obviously Arsenal midfielders.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you guys are just joining in the stream, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and also make sure you are, tuned in for the videos as well coming later this week. Team selection to come, deadline stream as always on a Saturday. Got a comment here before we wrap it up. Also, guys, if you've got any comments, put it in the chat right now. We're going to answer a few before we wrap the stream up. Linus K, hey guys, should I do Bowen to Maddison for a -4? Already own Son. Straight off the bat, for me, I wouldn't do that because yes, Bowen had a tough fixture in game week 8, which is Newcastle at home. However, after that, long term, his fixtures are really nice. Villa, Everton, Brentford, Forest, Burnley, Palace. You'd probably want Bowen back. So it's one of those it's like a 1 week punt type transfer. So yeah, I'm not sure I'd do that at all.
No, I think you already own Son, so I think that's enough cover. I think for Spurs in terms of midfield. I know a double up is very popular at the moment with Maddison and Son, but I think I'd rather have Son than just have Maddison. I think in my team, because obviously Son's getting the goals and Maddison's getting more of the assist involvement as well. So I think I'll be swayed, Linus, to just keep Bowen and just keep Son and don't bring in Maddison for obviously taking out Bowen, I think.
Yeah, if you really want Maddison, then I'd look to take out an Arsenal midfielder instead. I think like a Saka or someone like that. I think Bowen, longer term, you'd want him in your team. David says, guys, I have Odegaard. I'm also a bit of an FPL idiot. Odegaard is the FPL idiot Saka. I don't think Odegaard's been a bad pick at all. If you've got him, he has got returns in quite a lot of games. I'm just looking at Odegaard. Obviously, you've enjoyed the points that he's got in game week 7, which is a lovely 17-pointer. He also got an 11-pointer in game week 2 against Palace, and he did score as well, I believe, against Man United in game week 4. So he has got 3 goals, 2 assists. But I think I wouldn't be bringing him in. Basically, that's the more of the where we are going with it with Odegaard. You wouldn't bring him in right now, but if you've got him, I still would probably sell him if I had him right now. I'll probably get Maddison in or someone like that, or a Bowen potentially. But that's where I kind of stand with it. What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, because if you had obviously Odegaard set for that Man City game, and then you see obviously midfielder like Maddison who's got Luton away, I think I know where I'm going with that transfer, and that would be taking out Odegaard for like a Maddison or a Son, just because of the fixtures are much better as well for Spurs long term, and Arsenal's fixtures are a bit up and down in the next 5.
Yeah, so there you have it, guys. That has been the transfer tips video for game week 8. Obviously, there's a fixture tonight, I believe, Luton to play the double. And yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. I want to say a big thank you to all of you guys for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Also, we did do a big pod yesterday for the wild card. I have activated my wild card. We're both going to be on the wild card. If you haven't checked out our video from yesterday, do check it out. It was a really good one. We did a wild card draft video for Game Week 8. So if you are interested in potentially wild carding or looking at our ideas and thoughts on a wild card, we spoke about for an hour length, discussing that and what players we should be looking at. So do check it out. It was a good one. Anything else you'd like to add, Jordan?
Yeah, there's a lot of football on tonight. Obviously, there's Premier League, but there's also Champions League football, and I imagine a lot of you guys are tuning in for that. But until obviously next video, which is our team selection, which is on Thursday. Until then, take care, guys. Enjoy the football and the rest of obviously Game Week 7 if you have players left, and take care, and we'll see you Thursday.